Welcome to the coloring from K.Markova Fairy Celebrations book. Usually, I don't color name pages in all my coloring books. I would say that in all my huge collection of the books, so far I finished only a couple of these first pages. But in this book, it was quite easy to imagine which colors I want to use for this beautiful page, so I decided to do it. And I also wanted to test how watercolors will behave on this very nice paper. I saw many videos by other colorists where they used watercolors, so I was pretty sure that everything will be okay with watercolors. But still, I wanted to test paper myself. For the background, I selected blue turquoise color combo. My first paint and main paint is liquid watercolor by Alena. It's a watercolor in that tiny bottle on the right. Color is pastel blue. I am sure that this one won't bleed through. It's quite caring to the paper of watercolor. I don't know how to explain it, but in all my Alena works, they never bleed through even on thinner paper. So I was sure that if I would select this as my main paint, I won't have any problems. As additional colors, I selected two pens from White Nights. The first one is mint, the second is cobalt turquoise. You probably know that turquoise colors are one of my favorites, but honestly, they are a nightmare when I try to catch them on my camera screen or when I try to take photo. It's really difficult to get this right turquoise color. Sometimes it looks more greenish, sometimes it looks more bluish, but I hope that you would imagine the true color of my background. I work here on the dry paper. I decided that I won't put a water as my first step. Here we have a relatively small area of the background, so I selected not a very big size of my brush. My brush is synthetic by Jackson's Art, and first of all, I selected this brush because it has a very nice thin tip, so I was able to fill in all the small spaces, areas between flowers, and I really tried to be very careful to go around all those elements. I put my liquid watercolor first and then I mix it with small amounts of cobalt turquoise of mint to create small additional color accents to the background. After I applied watercolor in such a way to the whole page, I let it dry completely. I was curious how lighter will be my watercolor after drying. You know that it's normal for watercolor to look a little bit lighter, but also it depends from paper. And I also was curious about bleeding through. I was very happy how watercolors behaved on this paper. I didn't have problems with bleeding, and what is much more important, especially for beginners, when I started to apply second layer of colors, paper behaved really well. Even when I added bigger amount of water, paper didn't bleed through. Also, when I applied second layer on still a wet paper, uh, surface of the paper wasn't damaged, but I tried to wait until the first layer would be completely dry, and then I realized that in my opinion background lacks some contrasts, that in some of the areas I want to add darker color. So my next paint will be again by White Nights. It's turquoise blue. It's a little bit darker comparing to cobalt turquoise. You will see how I will add it in just couple of places around the central name tag and around the girl. By the way, I know that it's supposed to be a night scene because we have a moon, above the girl, above the fairy, but I decided to ignore it. Honestly, I saw many beautiful pictures mm, colored by other colorists with variations of dark blue, dark violet backgrounds, but I decided to skip to ignore that moon because I really wanted to use these turquoise blue colors. So on the second step, I added here and there a little bit of turquoise blue, and I needed to create nice gradient from this darker turquoise blue to the already colored background. And with my brush, I was able to add this watercolor without stains to dissolve border between this new layer of watercolor and previous watercolor, and that's where we can feel that paper is really good. On cheaper paper it's possible to damage the surface of the paper, or sometimes paper absorb pigment from the paint very quickly and you get quite ugly stains, and in such cases, you can feel that it's your problem, that you don't have enough skills in watercolor, and it's not your problem, it's paper. Here, paper is very good for testing, for trying your watercolors background first time, so I highly recommend to use watercolors here and to improve your watercolor coloring skills. So I was quite happy when I applied second layer and when I started to mix this new darker paint with previous ones. My two previous pages in this book I colored with Prismacolor Premiere, and I also tested Mitsubishi Uno on a smaller picture in this book. This time I was curious how my Faber-Castell polychromases would behave, and the branch of the tree and leaves I will be coloring with Faber-Castell, probably for some of the areas like flowers or maybe dress of the fairy I will switch to Prismacolors because they have really nice pastel colors which I would prefer to use here. But for the leaves and for the tree I will use polychromases. As we have here something from fairy tales world, I decided that I don't care about realistic colors, and for the leaves I will be using the least used green colors which I own in polychroma set, usually such color as leaf green, light green and phthalo green. For me they are too bright and I almost never use them. For all my leaves on other pictures I prefer more realistic greens. But here I decided that such colors would match the color of the background and that from time to time I can use something new and even such extremely bright colors. So it was my start of the name page. I hope that you will join me also in the second part. From the background and leaves, I will move to the flowers, then probably I will finish to color the name tag, and on the last step I will be doing this very cute sleeping fairy.